What's up, guys? I'm Josh Mosiman. Welcome to This Week in MXA, episode number 108, presented to you guys by O'Neill Racing. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. We have a lot to talk about from Seattle Supercross and more, so let's get into it. Getting into the 450 main event from the Seattle Supercross, it was very impressive to see Eli Tomac turn his championship around after two rough weekends at the Indianapolis Supercross and the Detroit Supercross. He was dealing with a strained neck that he talked about, and that's why he got 8th at Indianapolis. He backed it up with a 3rd at Detroit, which is much better, but he still got passed by two championship competitors, Cooper Webb and Chase Sexton, and beat by them and lost points to them. So coming into Seattle, he was 3 points down on Webb, and no alarms were being sound. Yes, he was still within one position of getting that red plate back, and he was able to do that at Seattle. Now he is tied with Cooper Webb for the red plate. They're 1 and 2 in the championship going into this weekend off. But I want to point out one big thing. Eli Tomac kind of beat Cooper Webb at his own game this past weekend. Cooper Webb is known for being strong late in the 450 main events. He's known for having exceptional line choice and picking up on lines earlier than most riders to find the smoother way around the track to save energy and to make passes. Well, this past weekend, Cooper was close to Eli early in the race, but Eli slowly pulled away from him and then continued to pull away from him by the end of the race to win by almost 5 seconds. So why do I say he beat Cooper at his own game? Because Eli found better lines than Cooper Webb did in the whoop section to skim across. He was hitting all the way left where Cooper was trying to jump through the whoops. Cooper even admitted it after the race that he should have found that skim line sooner. He lost a lot of time there. Usually that's something that Cooper picks up on quicker. And also the interesting one was after the start, that first rhythm lane where Eli Tomac was actually rolling the first jump and then table over single, tripling through after that. Eli talked in the post-race press conference. He was doing that because it was more consistent. He knew he could do it every lap, and it wasn't much slower, if not even actually faster. Had to worry a lot less, and that helped him pull away to win the main event. Obviously, he had help from Chase Sexton, who crashed, and we got to talk about that next. So getting into it, Chase Sexton, man, what is there to say that hasn't already been said? He has impeccable technique. He's picture perfect on the bike until he makes a mistake. Sometimes his mistakes are obvious. Yes, maybe he was pushing too much weight on the front end. This is the reason he crashed. He drug his foot peg, XYZ. We can see why he made the mistake. Other situations, it's hard to tell exactly what happened. I point out two specifically. Seattle Supercross this weekend, it was a little bit hard to tell what happened. And then the Oakland Supercross, that is the huge question mark for me on Chase Sexton's championship, on his bike, and on his career. How did he end up completely backwards after that crash at Oakland Supercross? I don't know that one, but looking at Seattle Supercross this weekend, yes, he did go a little bit wide into the soft stuff. Yes, he pushed the front end, and yes, he knifed it and went over the bars. But the thing I want to point out is that nobody else crashed here all day long. There was no other crashes in this section. How is it that the fastest rider of the day was the only one to crash there? Same thing with the Oakland Supercross. How is it that the fastest rider of the day was the only one to crash in that little jump section after the finish line? I have to point a little bit of the blame at the Honda CRF 450. I hate to do it, but ultimately Chase Sexton continues to crash and continues to end up completely backwards on the track. And Chase Sexton, we all know he's a great rider. We all know he has really strong legs because he stands up everywhere he goes around the track. And ultimately the full blame is on Chase Sexton because he knows what he's riding and he knows he has to take whatever he's riding and cross that finish line first. But he has crashed so many times this year. Literally almost every weekend he's had a crash. The only races he didn't crash were Detroit Supercross, where he won, and Anaheim 2 Supercross he won there, but that was a Triple Crown, and he did crash in the second main event of that race. So lots of crashes for him. He didn't crash at Anaheim 1, but he finished 3rd there. He did make a big mistake in the middle of the race, but he held on for a podium finish. So although he's had so many crashes, Chase Sexton has still had a lot of great finishes this weekend, but he wasn't able to salvage a podium this weekend. He said his bike was pretty banged up and beat up, and he ended up getting passed by Jason Anderson in that 450 main event, dropping him back to 4th, and he got passed by Justin Barcia, dropping him back to 5th. So tough race for Chase Sexton, but ultimately he'll look forward and look ahead, and I think eventually he'll get these things figured out. Another thing I have to touch on about the 450 main event was Cooper Webb and what he said in the post-race press conference. We got a photo of him doing the #1 sign to Chase Sexton after winning the heat race. He was right in front of Chase off the finish line, and he gave him kind of a finger gun #1 sign. And when asked about it by Kevin Kelly in the post-race press conference, Cooper Webb said, quote, "It felt felt good. I haven't won a heat race all year and Chase is good in them. It was a cool deal. It was one of those things to maybe make him get out of whack and lose focus, and it seems like it maybe worked. Bold move from Cooper Webb to say that in the post-race press conference, but we all know that Cooper is the champion of head games, and honestly, from the sidelines, I'm a huge fan of both Chase Sexton and Cooper Webb, and I think that kind of stuff is pretty fun to watch, and it makes me more interested in watching the next race as a fan. Talking about the 250 main event, it was another Lawrence show. We have seen this show multiple times this year, actually 9 out of 11 times this year. This was round 11 of the series. The Lawrence brothers have won every 250 main event so far, except for the 2 Triple Crowns. Hunter Lawrence got second at a Triple Crown, and Jet Lawrence got second at a Triple Crown. Other than that, the Lawrence brothers have won every 250 main event. Very impressive stuff for those guys. The other fun fact about the 250 West Coast is 4 races out of 5, we've had the same top 3 riders in the same positions. Jet first, RJ Hampshire second, and Cameron McAdoo third. Anaheim 1, San Diego, Oakland Supercross, and now Seattle Supercross. The same results have happened across the board. It's the same story, different race. Jet Lawrence managed his lead to get the win and cross the checkers first, even though he talked about afterwards he wasn't impressed with his ride. Yes, obviously he probably wanted to pull away a little bit further. RJ and Cameron were pushing hard. Cameron was actually second for most of the race, but in the end, RJ Hampshire made a quick pass on him with just a lap and a half to go and was able to get that second spot for the 4th time this season. Next up, I have 2 aspects of the privateer versus factory riders that I got to touch on. Starting off with the hole shots that we saw from Kevin Moranz in the 450 main event and Hunter Yoder in the 250 main event. Both privateer riders, both getting the hole shot. Very impressive, you guys. Both of them I can call friends as well, so proud of those guys. Kevin Moranz, I got an interview with him on our Instagram at Motocross Action Mag. You can check it out there, but he talked about he actually got the hole shot in his heat race, got a $1,000 bonus from his title sponsor Tank Masters, and then he got the hole shot in the main event, $5 grand from his title sponsor. So big bonus day for Kevin Moranz, and a lot on the line for a guy like him to get the whole shot. So pretty impressive. Obviously he made a mistake after crossing the finish line, allowing the entire pack to get by him, but still really cool for him to get up front, get some TV time, and get some bonuses from his sponsors. He's on a stock KTM 450, so he's got Redline oil in the engine, he's got an FMF pipe flowing the exhaust fumes out of the engine, he's got a recluse clutch hooking up the transmission to the rear wheel, and that's it. Otherwise, besides those 3 aspects, the bike is stock. So impressive stuff for Kevin Moranz. Stock mapping, stock everything inside of the engine. Hunter Yoder, same thing in the 250 class. He got the whole shot in the 250 heat race, leading Carson Mumford, factory Pro Circuit Kawasaki fill-in rider. And then in the main event, he was right next to Styles Robertson across the whole shot line, passed him in the first rhythm section, but then got passed in the next straightaway. Still, double thumbs up to him. He's out of Menifee, California, and pretty cool to see him running up front in the 250 class. The second topic of privateer versus factory that I have to touch on is the divide in the pits. It's really heartbreaking to see. Factory pits are heated, they are warm, they got nice lights on, and they are packed with fans. It is really tight quarters in there, and because it's such tight quarters, they can't fit the privateer riders in there. The privateers had to pit in a separate indoor pit area, closer to where the riders have to go through to get to the stadium and get to the track. Privateer teams were stuck out there, and they had no access to fans. Fans weren't allowed in there. The only people that are allowed in there are mechanics, crew members, and riders. So, and it's cold. It's just a double-edged sword there. But the bigger bummer for me was Josh Hill and Justin Hill. They're from Oregon. They're Pacific Northwest local riders. They have a huge following in the Pacific Northwest, and they both finished inside of the top 10 at the Detroit Supercross the weekend before, and they have a really nice rig. The Team Tedder is a Monster Energy sponsored rig, so you'd think they'd want that in the pro pits. No, they stuck them in the privateer pits. Definitely a bummer, and definitely something that is just, yeah, you really see the divide between privateer and factory. KTM had 3 semi-trucks in there for 3 riders, Aaron Plessinger, Cooper Webb, and Max Foland. And they had 2 hospitality rigs. It's just a lot for KTM, while the privateers are stuck out there. It's cold and the fans can't even get there. We also got some news coming from overseas. Jeffrey Hurling's got his 100th career win in the MXGP series at the MXGP of Sardinia. Pretty impressive stuff. Jeffrey missed the entire 2022 season due to injury, and he picked up his 100th career win at only the round 2 of 2023. He came into this not as much off-season prep as he wanted. Obviously, he missed a year of racing due to injury. So he said in many pre-race interviews that he didn't expect to win this early on, but he got the win with 2-2 moto scores in the sand at the second round of the season. Very impressive stuff. Now he's only one overall win behind tying Stefan Everts for the all-time record in the MXGP series. Stefan Everts has 10 championships and he has 101 MXGP wins. Very impressive stuff. We'll see if Herlings can do it at round 3. Next up, we got a couple interviews on our YouTube channel that you need to check out. First, we have Justin Hill and Josh Hill talking about their new partnership, working as teammates, and just talking a little bit about their careers, how they stepped away from racing. Justin Hill to be a sheriff, Josh Hill to go do freestyle and to actually work as an employee for Monster. Now they're both back racing, they're both teammates, and they both finished in the top 10 at Detroit. So they had good nights of racing at Seattle. It's their hometown race. I got to talk to them. I also talked to Ricky Gilmore. He is the suspension technician from KYB, and he's been alongside Eli Tomac for almost his entire professional career. Very impressive stuff. It was a fun time to talk with him and just learn more about his relationship with Eli and what it's like to work with Eli on the suspension side of things. Be sure to check those out on our YouTube channel. We also have a post-race interview with Cooper Webb up there as well. And next up, looking ahead, we don't have any races going on this weekend. No Supercross this weekend, and taking a weekend off, and they will pick back up in Glendale on April 8th, the Saturday before Easter. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Two-Stroke National or the Two-Stroke World Championships coming up at Glen Helen. The same day, April 8th, I will be racing there in 2 classes. Very excited. The Open Pro Sport class, and also, not Open Pro Sport, but just the Open Pro two-stroke class. You can race 250, 300, 500, whatever you want in there. And then I'm also racing the Pasha 150 Open class. So a lot of money on the up for grabs. I believe it's $17,000 in prizes from the Open Pro class, where they pay 1st through 10th, the 125 Pasha Open Pro class, where they pay 1st through 3rd, and then they also are paying the vet classes, the Pasha 150 Open 30 plus class and the 50 plus class. They're paying 1st through 5th in both of those classes. So it's going to be a fun race. Come and bring your two-stroke and race yourself, or if you don't have a two-stroke, or if you're injured or maybe not riding right now, come out and just spectate. Michael Essie's going to be out there. Lots of good riders are going to be out there. I'll be out there, and I'm hoping to have a good weekend. So that's all for this week in MXA, episode number 108. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.